You know that specific physical sensation when a conversation just, well, when it just dies?
Yes, the air leaves the room.
Exactly. You're talking to someone, maybe it's a colleague or, I don't know, a date, and suddenly you just run out of road and the air gets incredibly heavy. It feels like gravity just doubled. I don't know about you or even you listening at home right now, but my absolute knee-jerk survival instinct is to fill that gap.
Right away.
Immediately. With a joke, a comment about the weather, just, noise. Because that silence, it feels like a mistake. It feels like something is broken.
It is the hollow pause. That is what you were describing.
The hollow pause.
Yes, it is the empty space between commercials, the gap where we feel we are failing socially.
Yeah.
But there is a completely different kind of silence available to us. A silence that isn't about absence, but about presence. A breathing silence.
Breathing silence. That sounds beautiful. Poetic, even.
But perhaps a bit abstract.
Yeah, exactly. Because, practically speaking, I'm not sure I actually know how to do that. Welcome to today's deep dive, by the way. Today we are exploring some profound ancient Zen traditions alongside modern psychology to really look at this idea of silence. Because, well, I'm the person who answers the text within 3 seconds.
You are quick to respond.
Oh, I'm the quickest. I'm the one who interrupts you to fix your problem before you've even, finished explaining it to me. And I think most of you listening are probably in that same boat. We are terrified of the quiet.
We are.
Why is that? Why does it feel like a literal threat?
We are terrified because we mistake silence for emptiness. We think if nothing is being said, nothing is happening. We fear that if the noise stops, we simply disappear.
Oh, disappear.
But if we slow down, if we really look at the nature of connection, silence is actually the first word. Before a single syllable is spoken, there's that vastness. And the inquiry we are walking into today, our whole mission for this deep dive, is about that vastness. It is about the search for a voice that doesn't try to fix the world, but simply refuses to add to its noise.
A voice that refuses to add to the noise. Okay. I'll admit I'm slightly skeptical, but I'm definitely listening. Because right now my brain is just buzzing, trying to figure out how that actually works in a busy meeting or like at the dinner table with kids. It feels a bit like surrender.
It is not surrender, it is alignment. Let's step away from the dinner table for just a second. I want to anchor this in an image for you and for everyone listening.
Okay, ready.
Picture an old Zen monk. He is sitting on a simple wooden bench beneath a massive maple tree. It is late autumn. The air is crisp. His hands are folded quietly in his lap.
Okay, there, it's quiet.
A young student approaches him, and this student is vibrating with anxiety. You know this feeling?
I know it well.
Cortisol spiking, heart rate up. His eyes are burning with urgency. He is clutching a question like a stone that is just far too heavy to carry. He is desperate.
Right.
He blurts out his confusion, asking about suffering, about the meaning of it all, about why the world is so unbearably loud. He wants an answer. Right now.
I know that student. Honestly, I think I am that student most days. I want the life hack. I want the 5-step solution to my stress. So, what does the monk do? Does he give him the answer?
No, not immediately. And this is the crucial part. The monk simply looks at the student, and then he looks beyond him.
Beyond him?
Yes, he watches the leaves falling from the maple tree, one by one, landing without a single sound on the mossy earth. And he waits.
He just waits.
He waits.
See, that triggers me. That sounds agonizing for the steer. If I'm in pain and I ask you for help and you just stare at a tree, I'd be tapping my foot. I'd be thinking, hello, did you hear me? I'm drowning over here.
Yeah.
Isn't that just, well, ignoring him?
It feels like ignoring to the modern mind, yes. We are so conditioned for speed. But the monk knows something about the nervous system that the student doesn't.
Which is?
He knows that to speak too soon is to speak from noise, not from knowing. If he answers right away, he is just colliding with the student's panic. Two chaotic frequencies hitting each other in midair. So he waits.
Just letting the dust settle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to be dramatic, not to teach some harsh lesson, but because he is waiting for the air to clear.
So it's a form of, is it like regulation? Like he's setting a metronome in the room to a much slower beat?
That is a beautiful way to put it. It's co-regulation. In that waiting, something shifts physically. The student's breath slows down, subconsciously matching the rhythm of the monk and the falling leaves.
His nervous system catches up.
Yes, his shoulders drop. The question, which was sharp and demanding a moment ago, begins to soften. It turns from panic into wonder. And only then, when the space between them has filled with a shared stillness, does the monk speak.
And what does he say?
He says, very quietly, Tell me again what hurts.
Tell me again, what hurts? Wow, that hits totally differently than if he had just started listing out philosophical solutions immediately.
It does.
It's like he had to clear the runway before the plane could actually land.
Precisely. This is the difference between silence as avoidance, which is what we usually do when we are uncomfortable, and silence as attention.
Silence has attention.
In our world, we are trained to fill every single gap. We mistake speed for care. We mistake volume for sincerity. We think if we respond instantly, it means we love someone.
Yeah, that's exactly how I operate. If I text back fast, it means I care.
But true compassion doesn't rush. It listens. It lingers. It allows the other person to exist exactly as they are, trembling, unfinished, without trying to fix them into some sort of neat coherence.
That is a massive shift in perspective, because in corporate culture or in parenting or definitely on social media, we usually think the person who talks the most or the loudest is the one leading the room.
Always.
But you're suggesting the power dynamic is actually completely reversed here.
The paradox is this. The quieter the voice, the more deeply it is heard.
Why is that?
Not because it is louder in decibels, but because it carries less of the speaker's own agenda and more of their pure presence. Think of it like a cup of warm tea handed over without comment on a freezing morning.
You don't need to explain the tea.
Exactly. It doesn't need to explain itself. It just is. It meets the immediate need without the fluff. There is a saying in Zen practice, great doubt, great awakening.
I've heard that one.
But we could also say, great silence, great speech. Little silence, little speech, no silence, only noise.
Only noise. And we are absolutely drowning in it.
We are.
But I want to push back on this just a little bit, because while I love the idea of the monk under the tree, most of us aren't monks.
No, we are not.
We're parents, we're partners, managers. When I see someone I love in pain, my instinct to help them is visceral. It feels actively wrong not to help. I want to say, hey, it'll get better, or let me show you how we fix this. Are you saying that instinct is wrong?
It is not wrong at all. It is deeply, wonderfully human. It comes from a place of love. But let's look at the mechanics of what that fixing voice is actually doing to the other person.
Okay, let's look at it.
Imagine two friends in a cafe. One has just lost everything. Her job, her relationship. She is speaking in fragments. She is falling apart right there at the table.
Okay. And the standard response there is usually, you're strong, you'll bounce back, let's look at your resume. I know a guy who's hiring right now.
Right. We try to tidy up the pain. We try to sweep up the broken glass before they've even finished dropping the vase.
That's a great image. We want the mess gone.
But imagine the other friend doesn't do that. She doesn't offer a silver lining. She leans in, her eyes are soft, and she simply says, that sounds incredibly heavy.
That sounds incredibly heavy. It's so simple, but honestly, it feels risky.
Why does it feel risky to you?
Because it feels like I'm leaving them in the hole. If I don't throw them a rope and pull them out, am I really being a good friend?
Or consider that by offering a solution immediately, you are actually standing safely above the hole, shouting instructions down at them.
Yeah.
When you say, that sounds heavy, you are climbing down into the hole with them so they aren't alone in the dark. That is the difference between a map and a mirror.
A map versus a mirror. Break that down for me and for the listeners.
A map implies, I know where you are and I know where you should go. It's a claim of authority over their experience.
Yeah.
A mirror just says, I see you, I see exactly where you are, and I'm not looking away.
So it's about validation, not navigation.
Yes.
Yeah.
The paradox of presence is the less you try to change someone, the more space they have to change themselves. A calm voice protects the other person's dignity. It doesn't reduce them to a math problem to be solved.
That word, dignity, really sticks out to me. When someone tries to fix me, I do feel a little small, like I'm a broken toaster they're just tinkering with on the counter.
Exactly. And there is a beautiful, deeply painful story that illustrates this perfectly. It's about a father and his teenage daughter.
Oh boy. High stakes right there.
Very high stakes. They have a terrible argument, a massive screaming match. Doors are slammed. The father is standing out in the hallway, staring at her closed bedroom door. His adrenaline is pumping.
The blood boiling.
Yes. His old habits are screaming at him, go in! Explain yourself, defend your point of view. Don't let her think she's right.
I know that urge so well. You want the last word. You want to set the record straight because your ego is totally bruised. You feel like if you don't speak, you somehow lose the fight.
But he doesn't go in. He catches himself. He listens to something much deeper than his bruised ego. He sits down on the hallway floor, leaning his back against the wall next to her door, and he just waits.
He just sits on the floor.
He sits. He isn't sulking. He isn't playing a passive-aggressive game. He is keeping a vigil. An hour passes.
An hour? That's an absolute eternity in parent-teen time.
It is an eternity. But finally, the daughter opens the door, her eyes red from crying, and she sees him sitting there on the floor. She asks, "Why didn't you come in?"
And what does he say?
He looks up at her and says, "I wanted you to know I was here, but only when you were ready."
I wanted you to know I was here, but only when you were ready. Man, that requires so much restraint. That's what you were calling non-demanding speech earlier.
Yes, non-demanding speech. It offers itself like sunlight. It is available, it is consistent, but it never forces the flower to open. Trust grows from constancy, not from lectures.
Because if he had gone in...
If he had barged in, even with the best of intentions to fix it, it would have been an invasion of her space. By waiting, it became an invitation.
It's almost like we have to unlearn everything we've been taught about communication. We think communication is just about transmitting data. I send you words, you receive the words. But this is about transmitting space.
Which brings us to a famous concept that often gets very misunderstood, the koan.
The koan, that's the Zen riddle, right? Like a logic puzzle you have to solve.
We usually treat it as a puzzle in the West, yes, a brain teaser. But in Zen tradition, a koan isn't meant to be solved logically. It's meant to exhaust your analytical mind so you can break through to a direct, lived experience of reality. You have heard the most famous one, I am sure. What is the sound of one hand clapping?
Oh, the classic. Yeah, I've always thought it was just meant to break your brain. Or maybe it's a trick question.
Usually people think it is a trick, but looking at it through the lens of compassion, what if it isn't a riddle at all? What if it is an invitation?
An invitation to what?
What is the sound of one hand clapping? It is the sound of offering kindness without waiting for an echo. It is the profound act of giving without needing a receipt.
Offering kindness without waiting for an echo, that is really hard. Especially today, in the age of the smartphone. This is the modern koan, isn't it? The text message.
The blue bubble.
Yes, the blue bubble. You send a vulnerable text. Maybe it's an apology, maybe just an "I miss you," or maybe something super risky like telling someone how you really feel. And then nothing.
Just silence.
No 3 little dots. No read receipt. Just silence. And the internal monologue immediately starts up. Did I say the wrong thing? Are they angry? Do they hate me?
The mind races.
Yeah.
It desperately wants to fix the silence. It wants to send another text to explain the first text. Hey, just checking in? Or ignore that if it was weird.
Oh, I have sent the ignore that text so many times. It's humiliating.
That urge is the urge for 2 hands clapping.
Yeah.
You want the clap back. You want validation that you exist and that you are okay in their eyes.
Yay.
But the discipline of the compassionate voice, the sound of one hand clapping, is inner silence.
Yeah.
It means releasing your words like dandelion seeds on the wind. You blow them into the world because they are true and you do not track where they land.
That is terrifying. To just let it go, it feels like completely losing control.
It is terrifying. But here is the hard question we must all ask ourselves. If you only speak to get a response, are you speaking for them or for yourself?
Yeah.
Are you trying to soothe their pain or your own anxiety about their pain?
Oof. That stings a little, if I'm totally honest. Probably 80% of the time, I'm speaking to make myself feel better, to feel like I'm a good person who helped, or just to stop feeling anxious about the awkward silence.
This is why the calm voice requires us to empty ourselves first. Think of a nurse sitting and holding the hand of a dying patient. She doesn't say, "Don't be afraid." She doesn't give a medical lecture on organ failure. She simply breathes slowly. Her presence says, "I am here." Presence is measured in resonance, not in words.
It's about shared existence breaking the isolation.
Exactly. Like a stranger eating a sandwich on a park bench near someone who is openly crying.
Just eating a sandwich.
Yes. Not staring, not intruding, but just staying nearby, eating the sandwich peacefully. That anchored calmness says, the world is still turning and you are safe here. It grounds the other person without demanding they stop crying.
So we've talked about silence before speaking, like the monk, and we've talked about speaking without expecting a reply, the one hand clapping, but I want to dig into this idea of refraining or withholding, because I can hear a listener, maybe a parent or a manager listening right now, asking, isn't compassion active? Don't I have to actually do something? Isn't doing nothing just laziness?
We struggle immensely with the idea that withholding can be an act of love. We think physical action is the only valid form of care. But consider a mother watching a young child struggle with a knot in their shoelace.
The shoelace, okay.
The child is frustrated, they're fumbling with the strings, whining a little bit. The mother could reach down and fix it in 2 seconds. She has the dexterity, she has the knowledge. Every instinct in her body says, fix it so we can finally leave the house. But she waits. She watches.
And by waiting, she's letting the child struggle, which, on the surface, feels kind of mean.
It feels mean if you think the ultimate goal is a tied shoe. But if the goal is a capable child, then waiting is the only way. By not helping, she is offering faith. She is saying silently, I believe you have the capacity to meet this challenge. If she fixes it every single time, she steals that victory from them. She steals their agency.
That's a really important distinction for us to make. The difference between abandonment, which is figure it out yourself because I don't care, and a supportive presence that allows for struggle.
Correct. The supportive presence says, I am right here while you struggle. I am not leaving. It's a very different energetic posture. There is a classic Zen story about a master and a teacup that illustrates the danger of bringing our own fix-it energy into a conversation.
I think I might know this one, the overflowing cup.
Yes. A student comes to the master, completely full of his own questions, opinions, and preconceptions about Zen. He's talking a mile a minute. The master listens quietly and just starts pouring tea into the student's cup. He pours and pours. The tea fills the cup, then spills over the rim onto the table, onto the student's robes, and onto the floor.
And the student finally yells, "Stop! What are you doing? It's completely full."
And the master calmly puts the pot down and says, like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?
We usually hear that story framed as a lesson about learning, about being open-minded, but you're applying it to listening.
Yes. We cannot truly hear or help someone unless we empty ourselves of the need to be useful.
The need to be useful.
When we listen to someone in pain, we're usually full of our own advice, our own anecdotes, oh, that happened to me too, and our own discomfort. Our cup is full. There is literally no room for their reality to enter us.
That's the ego again, isn't it? The ego wants to be the hero of the story. I saved the day, I gave the best advice, I fixed the shoelace.
Yes. The calm voice isn't interested in being the hero. It is solely interested in the truth. It protects the other person's dignity. When we rush to fix someone, we are subtly saying, you are broken and I am the mechanic. When we sit with them, we are saying, you are whole, even in this pain.
That is such a gentle way to look at human connection. It really takes the pressure off too. I don't have to have the perfect words. I don't need a degree in psychology to be a good friend. I just have to be there and keep my own ego out of the way.
You never truly know if your voice lands as compassion. Maybe they don't hear it. Maybe they walk away completely unchanged. And that must be okay. That is the true discipline. Genuine compassion does not depend on the outcome. It depends on the source. Is it coming from fear or from love? From a desperate need to be right or the quiet courage to be present?
So it's less about the specific words I choose to say and much more about the where. Where is it coming from inside me?
Always. If it comes from silence,
Yeah.
it will land, even if it lands silently.
We've covered a lot of ground today, or maybe looking at the monk, we've just stood very still in one place. We've talked about the pause before speaking, the father sitting in the hallway, the empty cup, and the real courage it takes to not fix things. As we wrap this up, I want to ask, how do we take this into our actual noisy lives? Tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, the kids are screaming and the emails are just piling up.
It is difficult. The world will always try to pull you back into the noise. So I want you to picture the world just before dawn.
The world before dawn. Okay.
The exact moment when the night hasn't quite let go, but the light is trembling on the horizon. In that threshold, sound merges with silence. The wind doesn't stop moving through the trees. It becomes part of them. It is active, but it is not chaotic.
That's a beautiful image. It's not a dead silence, it's a living, breathing silence.
Compassion is exactly like that dawn. It isn't a performance you put on for others, it is a posture. It is moving from fixing to witnessing. It is a profound shift in how you hold yourself in the world. It's deciding that before you speak, you will take one breath of that dawn air.
Witnessing, just seeing things as they are without trying to wrestle them to the ground.
So I will leave you and everyone listening with a question to carry into that noise tomorrow. A question that doesn't need an answer right away. In fact, if you try to answer it right away, you've missed the point.
Let's hear it.
What if the most compassionate thing you could ever say is nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
Not because you don't care, but because your care is so complete, it no longer needs to announce itself. What if your silence isn't empty or just waiting for your turn to speak? What if it is full of everything that didn't need to be said because it was already felt?
That's a lot to sit with. And I think For once, I'm not going to try to add a clever sign-off to that.
Just let it settle, like the leaves.
Like the leaves. Thanks for walking through this with me.
Thank you for listening.
And to you listening, wherever you are, take a breath. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.